Today I'm going to show you how to really quickly swap the spring in your Gecko. Hello friends, how you doing? Rainbow here with another Nerf mod Gecko tutorial video. This is going to be a quick one this time, I promise, because I got another one coming tomorrow. This is about spring swaps. One of the questions that I've been asked a lot, because I sell different springs for the Gecko, is how hard is it to actually swap the spring in the Gecko? In all honesty, I don't think it's really hard to swap the spring. It's just a lot of work. It's a bunch of screws because in the original design you have to unscrew the entire blaster. And that's actually one of the reasons why my testing Gecko is always just partially assembled. In this configuration I can test the blaster and I can, work with it, but when I have to swap anything, it's a minimal amount of screws that I have to unscrew in order to access all the parts of the blaster. But for spring swap, that means still I have to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the other side, take out the 6 screws here. And that's quite quick, but most of you guys are not running a Gecko like this, you're running a Gecko like this. And in this configuration, this is quite a lot of screws that you actually have to unscrew. That's actually a lot of work. There's also a lot of little screws and springs that you could potentially lose, so you're probably not going to do this in between games on game day. The other problem is that the little screws here, they don't screw into inserts, they screw straight into plastic. So if you swap these too many times, you run the risk of wearing out the thread, which is another reason why you might not want to do this too many times. But since I am offering different springs and I encourage people to swap the spring in the Gecko just for different playstyles and game types, I thought there should be a better way of doing this. So I'm going to put this aside and I'm going to take this one to show you what the problem was and how I fixed it. So my idea was, since the spring is right in the front, why don't we just take out the entire catch housing towards the front and then access the spring from there. Problem with this is the original catch housing. And you can see, by the way, this is what it looks like when you put about 3,000 darts through it. The problem with this is you cannot pull this out that way because this wall here, that in the back of the catch housing, this wall will get caught on the trigger. And it will only move to about here and then you can't get it out. Nothing else, it's just that. So the solution was rather simple. Getting the same gap that's in the front of the catch housing into the back of the catch housing. So this is the new catch housing, or well, my version of the catch housing. And you can see it's right there. And with this, it allows you to just pull this out this way. So I've talked to Adrian about this and we both tested it and it has no other implications on the blaster whatsoever. So you might think that, the trigger can be pulled too far backwards, but it can't because of the magazine. That stops the trigger anyways. So this doesn't do anything else but allow you to just take it out, take out the catch housing to the front. So I think that's a really, really cool and nifty way of doing it, because all you got to do now is, in order to swap your spring, tilt the blaster like this, open up the 4 screws, take it out, take out a spring, swap it, put it back on, you're done. One tip that I'm going to give you, you take an old worn out dart and you put it in here to prevent the catch and the catch spring from jumping at you. So all you do is you push this down, engage the catch, push a dart in here, have it there, and you just leave it there, and then you go unscrew. And to show you how quick this actually is, I'm going to throw a timer up there and we're going to quickly swap the RMP 8 spring into this blaster. So timer, let's go. Make sure to hold down your catch housing when you get to the last 2 screws. Take that apart. And make sure you unscrew all 4 screws completely. When you're done, push down on the trigger and just take this out. And then you take out the spring and you put the other spring in. Make sure the brass is in the spring, push down the catch a little bit to have the trigger come over. Align these screws, not with too much force. Maybe like reverse screw them a little bit and then start screwing them in diagonal manner. Depending on how strong of a spring you swap, you actually need some force to pull this down. And the last one. And we're done. Spring swapped. So as you can see, this little change of the catch housing actually goes a long way in terms of spring swaps. So now this is really viable in between games, just quickly swap the springs. And you can do this, you can do the spring swaps with all of this in place as well, because you can access all 4 screws, you can hold the catch housing like so. So this doesn't get in the way, and it's the same idea, and it works really nicely. Last question that remains is how you get your hands on it. It's actually quite easy. I put the files up on Thingiverse, and the link to that is in the description to the video. And yes, the Scar variants of the catch housing already have this in place, so some of you may have wondered why this looks like that. That is because of this change. So the Scar variants for the catch housing have the same quick swap mod, let's call it. I don't know. If you order a Gecko or a Gecko kit from me, like these ones will be the standard ones that I'll be using, and that's it. So if you already have your Gecko printed and you want to swap this, just reprint that. And the one unfortunate thing is, to get it in initially, you will have to take apart the entire Gecko once, because that doesn't come out this way, it only comes out that way. And then you have to do it once, put it together, and then you're good to spring swap like this. If you've ordered a hardware kit and only have a limited amount of heat inserts, you know that there's 2 heat inserts in there right there. I'm going to show you how to get this stuff out. And it's actually quite easy. Let me explain this with this piece right here, because I have to do it to this piece. That's printed in PLA, and so temperature, heat actually, is the thing that we're going to be using. You take a longer screw, one that you can easily grab with your hand. You screw it in all the way. Whoops. Just like so. And I would do a second one right here. Then you place this into a bowl. You get some boiling water, pour it over the top. Be careful though to not burn yourself. Let it sit for a minute or 2. Then take a pair of pliers or something to get this out. And then take a piece of cloth, touch this, and start to sort of wiggle around. So what you want to do is just like circle wiggle motions, because what the boiling water will do, it will not melt the PLA, but it will weaken and soften the PLA. So if you do this in a couple of circuits, you widen the hole where the insert is, and then you can just pull it out, and then you unscrew it, and you got the insert back. And depending on what kind of glue you have, it's the same idea to, you know, weaken the glue. Same idea for the brass. So you have this in there, and then you just wiggle it around. Be careful, the brass will be hot. So you get, that's how you get these pieces out. And then you can reuse the hardware that you've previously put in your blaster with the new one, and that's it. I hope this was really helpful to you guys. So I hope this encouraged you to, you know, swap your springs and your geckos every now and then. If you have any questions about this, feel free to leave them in the comments. As always, thank you guys very much for watching. Please consider leaving a like and a sub and a share and all of this. And until I see you next time, which will be tomorrow with a bigger upgrade video yet again. Happy modding, happy nerfing, and I'll see you next time. Love and sunshine.